On the day of our 7th anniversary, Elena Cross skipped out to celebrate the birthday of her childhood friend who had just returned to the States. He posted a photo on Instagram. The world is vast, but home is wherever you are. In the picture, Caleb Reed was making a wish with his hands clasped, and Elena was standing right behind him. Under the warm glow of the candlelight, her smile was innocent and deeply affectionate. Mutual friends flooded the comments, shipping them hard. Caleb replied with a laughing, crying emoji. "Don't start rumors. Elena has a husband. He'll get jealous if he sees this." I liked the post and commented, "I really envy you, having my wife keep you company on your birthday." A few minutes later, the post was deleted. Elena's call came through almost immediately. She was furious. "Julian, are you out of your mind? It's Caleb's birthday. Did you have to try and ruin his luck today, of all days?" Caleb's voice in the background sounded desolate. "Elena, don't blame Julian. It's my fault for having no boundaries and showing off that you were here with me." Elena's tone softened as she comforted him. "It has nothing to do with you. He's just trying to pick a fight with me and taking it out on you." Then her voice turned cold and hard. "But Julian overestimates himself. Nothing is more important than your birthday." She was belittling me in front of another man without a shred of hesitation. Every word felt like a slice from a blade. The veins in my hand bulged as I gripped the phone, suppressing my grief and rage. Right? A childhood friend's birthday is somehow more important than our wedding anniversary. Elena's breath hitched, and her voice grew slightly quieter. "Today is our anniversary?" Before I could answer, Caleb's sigh came through the receiver again. "Julian, I'm sorry. I appeared at the wrong time. I'll come and apologize to you in person right now." Whatever guilt Elena felt vanished instantly. She comforted Caleb softly, then turned her reprimands back to me. "It's just an anniversary. We can celebrate that any year. This is Caleb's first birthday since coming back to the U.S. Can't you be the bigger man, Julian?" I articulated every word clearly. "No, I can't. I couldn't accept my wife being ambiguously entangled with another man." Furthermore, as a man, I understood Caleb's mindset too well. They hadn't slept together, yet only because he knew Elena still held onto a basic moral baseline. She wouldn't physically cheat within a marriage this quickly. But if things continued like this, crossing that line wouldn't take long. I hung up the phone. I looked at the ice cream cake on the table. The two little fondant figures kissing were slowly melting, staining the happy 7th anniversary icing. I picked up the cake and dumped it into the trash can. My phone pinged with a new notification. I opened it. It was another provocation from Caleb's burner account on Twitter. "Julian, I told you long ago, when she has to choose, Elena will always choose me. Do you believe me now? A few hours ago, I wouldn't have believed it, but now it was a fact. Elena didn't come home that night. When I woke up, she was in the dining room, eating breakfast. Seeing me, she shot me a cold glare. 'Come to the office with me later. You're going to apologize to Caleb.' Because of your comment, he felt so guilty he couldn't sleep all night." I let out a scoff. "I'm not going. You spent the night together. Wasn't that enough? Do you need my apology to spice things up? Julian, why do you have to be so nasty?" She looked like a peacock with ruffled feathers. "Caleb is just a director I hired. Plus, he's lost his family and his home. Do you have zero empathy?" The corner of my mouth hooked up as I looked at her mockingly. "A director who sleeps in your bed?" Elena's face changed color. She flipped the dining table. Dishes shattered against the tile floor, a cacophony of breaking porcelain. I closed my eyes, turning my head away. The disappointment in my heart was layering up, sediment becoming stone. How did Elena turn into this? Elena growled with resentment. "I told you we didn't sleep together. Why won't you believe me? Since you're being so stubborn, let's separate for a while." She slammed the door and left. She didn't come back for a week. I couldn't sleep night after night. But during this time, Caleb's burner account never stopped updating. My childhood bestie CEO took me to the Aegean Sea for a business trip. Working is even better than vacation. Facepalm. Accidentally fell on the beach and cut my knee on a pebble. My CEO bestie scolded me for 10 minutes out of heartache, then went to comfort her little princess. My CEO bestie finally agreed to wear a sweet princess dress in front of me. She said she can only be a little girl when she's with me. I didn't scream or fight anymore. I silently saved all these screenshots. This morning, Caleb's updates told me they had returned from the Aegean. A person who is rotted should be discarded promptly. I contacted the system again and decided to leave in 3 days. For the final 3 days, I wanted to get along with Elena. I would be the perfect partner she wanted and let our marriage end with some dignity. After the system left, I took the initiative to call Elena. We had been in a cold war over Caleb for days. This was our first contact in a while, but the call was hung up on me several times in a row. Mechanically, I dialed again and again. Finally, Elena's voice rang out, annoyed and irritable. "Julian, are you done yet?" I paused, my already disappointed heart stinging again. I deliberately ignored the emotion in her tone and asked gently, "Elena, are you coming home tonight? I made the oh-so-buco you love." Elena sneered, her tone arrogant. "Julian, not talking tough anymore? I can come back, but you have to reflect on your mistakes first and apologize to Caleb." The hand holding the phone trembled. Elena's voice continued to flow from the receiver. "Julian, did you hear me?" Gathering my thoughts, I replied faintly, "Okay." The noisy background on her end suddenly went quiet. A few seconds later, Elena asked again, "What did you say?" I forced a smile onto my face. I said, "I agree to apologize to Caleb Reed. For these last 3 days, I would fulfill all your requests. And then, I would leave you forever." I followed the location Elena sent me. The private room was raucous. The moment I appeared at the door, someone whistled. "Julian is here." The teasing voice was full of anticipation. Since Caleb returned, Elena and I had fought constantly. Small fights every 3 days, big ones every 5. Everyone in our circle knew. I scanned the room and found Elena sitting in the center of the sofa. Our eyes met, hers unreadable. Caleb was sitting right next to her, their bodies pressed together. "Julian, heard you're here to apologize to Caleb," someone jeered. Elena's friends were experts at sailing with the wind. When Elena loved me, they called me Julian with respect and never dared to joke about me. Now that Caleb was back, anyone with eyes could see his special place in Elena's heart. Consequently, they treated me with contempt. I took 2 steps forward, my gaze sweeping over the full wine glasses on the table. I picked one up gently. To show my sincerity, "I'll drain this glass to apologize to Mr. Reed. Is that acceptable?" Elena tilted her head to look at Caleb, as if asking for his opinion, then looked back at me with leisurely composure, staying silent. The people around us had eyes full of excitement, ready for a show. "Julian, what are you doing?" Caleb suddenly stood up, looking panicked, trying to snatch the glass from my hand. "Last time you only scolded me a little, and I deserved it. How can I accept your apology?" His tone was sorrowful and self-pitying. A flash of heartache crossed Elena's eyes. She stood up and pulled him back down to sit. "Why can't you accept it? With me here, no one can bully you." Starlight seemed to shimmer in Caleb's eyes. He looked at Elena gratefully, then turned back to me after a few seconds. "Then just drink this one small glass. After that, all the misunderstandings will be cleared up." He smiled and handed the glass back to me. "Julian, Elena, and I grew up together. We're used to backing each other up. Don't be mad, okay?" I looked at Elena, chuckled lightly, and took the glass with indifference. "Of course not." I raised the glass. "Everyone here bears witness. Before, I was jealous and petty, misunderstanding the relationship between Elena and Mr. Reed, causing Mr. Reed unhappiness. Today, this glass is my penance, an apology to Mr. Reed." After speaking, I looked around at everyone. They were all stunned. Someone whispered, "No way. Is this the same proud and aloof Julian Vance?" Elena, sitting in the center, was also dazed for a moment. Ignoring the flash of surprise in her eyes, I raised my hand and downed the entire glass of wine. I had a severe alcohol allergy, and Elena knew it. The moment the wine went down, my body felt like driftwood floating on a river. Someone grabbed my arm. His face was blurry. I tried hard to focus and realized it was Elena's best friend, Harper. She seemed to be the only one in the room who hadn't been jeering. "Thanks," I whispered. I wanted to look up and ask Elena if that apology was enough. But then I saw Caleb shoot a quick glance at the others. Immediately, someone shouted, "Julian holds his liquor well. But to show real sincerity, one glass isn't enough, right?" He maliciously pushed a whole bottle of red wine toward me. Then he looked back at Elena. "Elena, don't you agree?" Elena's brow was already furrowed. She silently watched the wine bottle near me, about to speak. Caleb's low, husky voice cut in. "Don't say that. It's already my honor that Julian would lower himself to apologize to someone like me, who has lost his family and home. As long as Julian doesn't storm into the office to humiliate me again and delay the company's work, I'm fine with anything." Elena raised an eyebrow, looking at him in disbelief. "He stormed into the office to humiliate you? When?" Her voice rose, and the entire private room fell silent. Caleb stammered, It was my first day as your director." Anger rose in Elena's eyes as she looked up at me. "Yes, I did go that day. Before that, I had fought with Elena countless times because of Caleb. In the middle of the night, Caleb had a fever and needed her to accompany him to the hospital. Caleb got drunk and needed her to pick him up. Caleb bought clothes and had to send photos asking her which looked best. Intense love and emotional stability can never coexist, unless one doesn't love. We argued, we fought. I begged her to have some boundaries, to care a little about my feelings. She promised me she would keep her distance from Caleb. But just a few days later, I received a text from Caleb. "Julian, what's the use of you blocking me? All I had to do was shed a few tears, and didn't Elena still agree to let me into the company?" I thought he was making it up to drive a wedge between us. I trusted Elena wouldn't lie to me, but I still went to Elena's office with a trace of uneasiness. And then I saw Caleb sitting in the director's office. He loosened his tie and looked at me smugly. "Julian, do you like my tie? It's a welcome gift from Elena." That face was truly disgusting. I raised my hand and punched him hard. "Caleb, don't you feel dirty always picking up other people's scraps?" Back then, he clutched his face but smiled at me wildly. "Julian, are you scared because you sense you're about to lose Elena?" Now, Caleb covered his untouched cheek with red eyes, smiling bitterly. "Julian only punched me once that day. It doesn't matter. As long as Julian can vent his anger and you two don't fight, it doesn't matter how much it hurts." After listening, Elena looked at me with a dark face. The anger in her eyes threatened to swallow me whole. "Julian, I thought you were just petty and selfish, too possessive of me to accept Caleb's return. But I didn't expect the current you to be such a vicious and insidious man." Her voice was cold, without a shred of pity. "I think drinking this bottle is letting you off easy." I looked up at her in shock. "That's what you think of me. Elena hufad ligli. Facts speak louder than words. You know I can't drink alcohol." I looked at her with bloodshot eyes. "Elena snitted. Then what are you doing here today?" She glanced at the door behind me, her face tense. "If you're not here to apologize, you can leave now." My heart felt like it was being pierced by thousands of needles. A tear hit the floor and vanished instantly. I was surprised to find that, despite being ready to leave this world, a sliver of hope had remained in my heart. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe she still loved me. Unfortunately, that bottle of wine crushed the last bit of life. "Elena, I don't want you anymore." I smiled at her. "If I drink this bottle, will you forgive me and come home with me?" Caleb also looked up at her. Elena's eyes were quiet, her emotions unreadable. Her voice was flat. "Drink it first, then we'll talk." I swallowed the bitterness in my throat and nodded numbly. "Okay." But the next second, the bottle was snatched from my hand. "Elena, a whole bottle will kill him." Elena curled her lips, ignoring her, only looking at me. "Julian, the choice is yours. I'm not forcing you." My heart had long been blown to pieces. Strangely, I didn't feel any pain now. "I'll drink." I stubbornly took the bottle back from Harper, whispered my thanks to her again, and put the bottle to my lips, swallowing gulp after gulp. As my consciousness faded, I thought I saw Elena pushing through the crowd, striding towards me. My body sank heavily. "Elena, this wine is so bitter." In my dream, I seemed to return to 7 years ago. I had just transmigrated into this world. At that time, Elena was repressed and withdrawn. She was an illegitimate daughter, only brought back to the Cross family after her mother died. The system reminded me of the plot. When Elena first returned to the Cross family as a child, she wasn't liked by the other heirs and was often bullied. Once, when a group of rich kids sprayed her with water guns, Caleb, wearing a little suit, stepped forward. He became the guardian angel Elena could never forget. But what she didn't know was that it was just Caleb showing off his bravery and kindness to please the female lead who was standing nearby. Elena was just a tool in his play. When I arrived, Elena was already beginning to show her edge in the Cross family. She was smart and daring, walking the edge of the law to sign deal after deal. But these methods weren't approved by Grandfather Cross. As the youngest son of a family friend who had just returned to the country, I appeared by her side on a blind date. At first, Elena didn't like me. For a whole month, the mission progress was 0. Until one day, I participated in a landmark building negotiation on behalf of my father. Elena was there too. A big shot at the table deliberately made things difficult for me, demanding I toast everyone at the table one by one. After one glass, my body started to itch, and red rashes began to appear. As I brought the second glass to my lips, someone grabbed my wrist. It was Elena. She took the glass from my hand and smiled faintly at everyone. The Cross and Vance families are old friends. I'll drink the remaining glasses for him. Amidst the clinking of glasses, she subtly steered the conversation away from me, while tilting her head to whisper, "If you're allergic to alcohol, I suggest you leave quietly now and take some medicine. I'll cover for you." I paused, looking up, but she had already seamlessly reintegrated into the conversation, eyes shining. Confident, composed, and dazzling. In that instant, I clearly felt my heart move. After that, I frequently asked her out. I slowly melted her hard spikes with care and gentleness, bridging the relationship between her and Grandfather Cross. I used the Vance family connections to help her legally sign contracts, increasing her voice in the company. I didn't want her to be a canary. I wanted to give her wings to fly. Our footprints of struggle covered the globe. During a negotiation in South America, we encountered a firefight between local factions. We were trapped for 3 days and 3 nights. Just before we walked out of that jungle, we ran into militants. I blocked her body with mine. The bullet hit near my heart. In the nick of time, the backup we had arranged finally arrived, rescuing us from the desperados. In the ambulance transferring me, Elena's eyes turned red for the first time. Huge tears fell on my body. She was shaking all over, asking why I was so stupid, begging me to hold on. She said, "We haven't held our wedding yet. I haven't worn a wedding dress for you. You can't die." At that time, I really thought I was going to end in that foreign land. I raised my hand to stroke Elena's face and forced a smile. "Don't cry, Elena. I came to this world specifically for you." Luckily, the bullet missed the fatal spot, and I survived. 3 months later, our grand wedding shocked the world. After marriage, during countless nights of intimacy, she whispered, "I love you," in my ear over and over again. By then, Caleb had long since married the female lead abroad. I thought there would be no more complications in Elena's and my world. In my groggy state, I felt someone changing my clothes. I stubbornly pushed them away. "Don't touch me. I have a wife." The person paused, their fingers stopping right over the bullet scar. The old wound had healed and scarred over, growing new flesh, but it forever froze that moment on my body. The person seemed to freeze for a long time. She coaxed softly, "Be good, don't fuss. Change your clothes and take a shower." She rambled on about a lot of things. I couldn't hear clearly, so I covered her mouth. So noisy. After saying that, a sudden wave of sadness hit me, and my eyes stung. The person asked, "Why are you crying?" One sentence like pulling a loose thread. I cried even harder. "My wife fell in love with someone else. She broke our vows. I don't want her anymore. I'm leaving." The person seemed stunned. Later, I don't know what happened, but I fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up again, it was broad daylight. Sunlight filtered through the sheer curtains, casting dappled shadows in the bedroom. The system's voice rang out. "Host, you're leaving tomorrow. Do you have any regrets?" It reminded me, Elena is right outside. As soon as the system's voice faded, Elena appeared at the door holding a glass of honey water. Her voice was slightly hoarse, and her expression was unnatural. "Julian, you're awake." I didn't take the glass. I drank the honey water from her hand. This level of intimacy was something we hadn't shared in a long time. Elena's dark eyes froze. Then a surprised smile appeared on her lips. "You know you can't drink, yet you try to be strong." Her voice carried a note of blame, but she probably immediately remembered she was the instigator of this event. She fell silent instantly, a trace of guilt flashing in her eyes. It seemed she was waiting for my sarcastic retort. This was the state of our relationship recently. But I only had an apologetic smile on my face. "You're right. I won't do it again." Elena looked up in shock. She wanted to say something, her mouth opening and closing, but no words came out. I spoke first. "Elena, can you go with me to visit Grandpa today?" She nodded immediately. "Of course. Grandpa has been nagging me for a long time, saying he misses you." We went to the supermarket together, hand in hand, to the supplement aisle. I seriously selected high-end health supplements one by one, occasionally asking for her opinion. After asking several times, she laughed helplessly. "President Vance, are you trying to move the whole supermarket home?" I looked over in confusion, only to realize the supplements I had chosen had piled up into a small mountain. Elena continued to tease. "Looks like we drove the wrong car today. We shouldn't have taken the Bentley. We needed a truck to haul President Vance's trophies back." Her casual smile fell on every part of me, just like before. I said softly, "It's better to buy more, so Grandpa won't run out." "We could just come back when he runs out," she replied casually. I smiled and didn't answer, just lowered my head to continue choosing. But vaguely, I felt two gazes patrolling and probing my back. I didn't want to think too much about it, so I ignored it. After selecting everything, I had Elena call the family butler to pick up the goods. We only carried the 2 best items by hand. Walking to the underground parking garage, I exclaimed, "Shoot, I forgot." Seeing my anxiety, Elena asked what was wrong. I immediately opened the door and got out. "I forgot to buy knee pads and a back brace. Grandpa's knees and back are bad." Elena chased after me from the driver's seat, grabbed my hand, and laughed helplessly. It's still so hot out. Why would he need knee pads and a back brace? I shook my head. He'll need them when it gets cold. I tried to walk back toward the supermarket entrance, ignoring her obstruction. Elena jogged 2 steps to catch up and grab my wrist. Julian, what's the rush? She was smiling calmly and gently, but I could sense the uneasiness deep in her eyes. I'll come back with you to buy them in the winter, okay? Without waiting for my reaction, she forcibly pulled me back to the car. Elena. Forget it. I sighed internally. I was leaving tomorrow. I didn't want to argue with her. The car merged back onto the main road. Elena remained silent. I had been drinking, so she was driving. The quiet atmosphere was awkward. I fidgeted, touching this and that. Suddenly, when I touched the car ornament hanging from the rearview mirror, Elena's hand on the steering wheel slipped, and the car swerved slightly. She glanced quickly at my hand, resting on the ornament, and explained, last time Caleb was in my car, he was joking around and said this rabbit looked like me. So he swapped it. I'll put the original ST. Jude metal back when we get home. I paused, stroking the rabbit's white, smooth fur, and said slowly, don't change it. This rabbit is cute. The yellow light ahead turned red. Elena stopped the car and tilted her head to look at me, her eyes seemingly full of doubt. What's wrong? I asked. Her brows furrowed slightly. Are you not angry? Before, if anything of Caleb's appeared around me, you would lose your temper. I chuckled lightly. So that was it. If I didn't care anymore, why would I be angry? I was wrong before. I looked blandly at the license plate of the car in front. Caleb, and you have a childhood friendship. Now that he's divorced and back in the country, and his family is gone, I should have shown him more sympathy and care. Fighting out of jealousy like that was wrong of me. I sighed softly. Elena's frown deepened. But that ST, Jude metal. You knelt and prayed for that personally. You, don't mind. The light turned green. I didn't answer, just reminded her green light. Elena looked at me, silently for 2 seconds before restarting the car. I turned my head, staring wordlessly at the traffic outside. Did I mind? I asked myself. My mind drifted back to the day I went to the cathedral. At that time, Elena had taken full control of the Cross Corporation, but there were many on the board dissatisfied with her, and her aggressive business tactics made enemies on all sides. Every so often, there would be an assassination threat. I lived in fear every day, terrified she would get hurt. After waking up from another nightmare, I went to a historic cathedral known for miracles. I knelt and prayed, step by step, asking God to keep Elena safe every day. The ST, Jude metal for the car, was blessed there, the patron saint of lost causes and desperate situations. 1,080 stone steps, wearing down my knees and forehead. When I returned with the medal, Elena found out. She distressingly applied ice to my knees and kissed my forehead. She accepted the medal like a treasure, saying as long as the object was there, she was there. If it was lost, she was lost. Now, the medal was nowhere to be found, and I wouldn't ask about it again. The one I had truly loved was the sincere and passionate Elena of the past, not this rotting person who vacillated, wavered, and allowed Caleb to provoke and bully me. Julian, she called my name, but she was interrupted by her phone ringing. We both looked at the screen. It was Caleb. I picked up the phone with a smile. It's not safe for you to answer while driving. I'll get it for you. Before she could react, I accepted the video call directly. Elena. Caleb's panicked voice came through. Elena swallowed unnaturally and glanced at me. What is it, Caleb? Elena, I was boiling water just now and accidentally scalded my calf. He hissed in pain. It hurts so much. He shifted the camera angle. In the video, Caleb's calf was bright red. I couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. To get Elena's attention, he really could be ruthless to himself. Although, if it were really boiling water, it would be more than just red. Hearing my laugh, Caleb's voice feigned panic. Elena, is Julian there too? Did I interrupt your date again? He lowered his voice, sadly. I'm sorry, Elena. I just didn't know who else to ask for help. You know I have no family here anymore. Forget it, I won't be a bother. On the screen, Caleb bit his lip tightly, looking utterly helpless. Don't panic. Elena instinctively stepped on the gas to pass a car. But in the next instant, she seemed to remember something. She comforted Caleb softly. I have something to do with Julian right now. I can't come over. I'll call Harper to go check on you. My mouth opened slightly, looking at Elena in surprise. The video call ended. Elena grinkid unnaturally. Why are you looking at me like that? But before I could answer, a scoff escaped my lips. So she didn't know how to refuse. So she could see through Caleb's clumsy acting. Then what were my arguments before? What were her excuses? Seeing I didn't answer, she dialed Harper's number herself to ask her to check on Caleb. Harper retorted violently. Elena, I can help with anything else, but not this. I get sick just looking at that manipulative snake. You always sympathize with his misfortune, but his tragedy wasn't caused by Julian. Don't blame his sister for not warning you. If you keep obsessively letting Caleb lead you by the nose, sooner or later you're going to completely hurt your husband. The system suddenly popped up. Host, this Harper is a bitch detector expert. Startled by its sudden voice, I jerked forward. Elena, currently on the phone, was quick. She threw her arm out to stop me from hitting the dashboard. I paused and instinctively thanked her. Emotions swirled in her eyes as she touched my hand. Julian, we're married. Don't be so polite. I subconsciously pulled my hand away. Her hand hung in midair, frozen. I recovered and soothed her, focus on driving. Just as we were about to reach the cross estate, Elena's phone rang again. Caleb. Impatience flashed across Elena's brow. She answered, what now? Perhaps the cold, hard tone felt unfamiliar to Caleb. He was silent for a few seconds before speaking faintly. Elena, I'm dying of pain. Do you really have the heart to ignore me? The old estate was right in front of us. Elena looked torn. He smiled at her. Go see Caleb first. He's injured and needs company. Elena's expression darkened, looking at me with sadness. You need company too, Elena. Caleb's voice suddenly spiked, sharp and piercing. When we were kids, we promised that whenever one of us needed the other, we would appear immediately. Have you forgotten? Elena stiffened, instinctively looking at me. I chuckled lightly, speaking with indifference. It doesn't matter. It's not far from Grandpa's place. I could take an Uber. Elena wanted to say something more, but my attitude was gentle and firm. She had agreed to go to Caleb, but she still insisted on driving me to the estate gate first. After I got out, she looked at me anxiously. Julian, go see Grandpa first. I'll be back immediately. I looked at her tenderly, my gaze like water. The car's shadow gradually shrank and disappeared from my sight. Elena, Goodby. My phone vibrated. I opened it. A DM from Caleb. Julian, did you think you could keep Elena using that old man? You still lost. I typed back faintly. Are you sure? I was the one who leaked today's itinerary with Elena to Caleb. Her calling him on the road was all within my expectations. Even though this same scenario had played out countless times, I didn't mind one more. After I left this place, it would only deepen Elena's guilt and regret. Judging by her reaction just now, she wasn't without feelings for me. Maybe if I had opened my mouth today, she would have ignored Caleb's pity play and stayed with me. Unfortunately, I didn't want a belated awakening. It disgusted me. I was also curious. After today, would he still be as confident of victory as he was now? While my thoughts churned, Grandpa came out of the old house leaning on his cane. His silver temples shone in the sunlight. This old man, who had given me the most care and love in this world, had finally reached the moment of our final farewell. No one would guess that this kind, amiable old man was once a kingpin who controlled both the lawful and unlawful worlds. Look at him. Does our Julian have white hair growing in? Grandpa asked the butler beside him with a smile. I was baffled. The butler explained with a laugh, the master means you're still so young. How did you become as naggy as an old lady? I laughed despite myself. Leaving this world tomorrow, I couldn't help but give a few extra instructions. I didn't expect to be teased by this little old man. Night gradually fell. Before I left, Elena still hadn't arrived. Grandpa cursed a few times and immediately ordered the butler to call her and summon her for a scolding. The system reminded me, Host, rest assured, I've set Elena's phone to unreachable. Sure enough, the butler shook his head helplessly. Grandpa's temper flared even hotter. Send someone to check immediately. What is that damn girl doing? Seeing him angry, I hurried to pat his back to calm him down. He glanced at me and asked with heartache, Julian, how long has she been neglecting you like this? I smiled bitterly and shook my head. She hasn't, Grandpa. Elena is just too busy today. You're still defending her. Grandpa was even angrier. I knew the more I pretended to be magnanimous now, the heavier the punishment Elena, and even Caleb, would face tomorrow. After all, everyone in the Cross family knew Grandfather loved me far more than Elena. After sending Grandpa back to his room, the system explained, Host, Elena didn't mean to not come. I blew out her tires. It paused. 3 in a row. I refused the car Grandpa arranged to take me home. Elena is coming soon. Tell Grandpa not to worry. Then, I slowly walked out of the Villa District. According to the plan the system and I made, shortly after walking out of the estate, I would be stopped by robbers and killed. A gleaming white knife stabbed into my abdomen, and the system instantly stripped my consciousness from my body. Bright red blood flowed down the blade, staining a large patch of the asphalt road dark. Thankfully, I felt no pain. The system manipulated my phone to make my final call to Elena. She couldn't answer. In the future, during countless late nights, she would repeatedly think about how she abandoned me on the road for Caleb, and how she missed my final distress call, cutting off the chance I originally had to survive. Seeing they had killed someone, the robbers fled in panic. A few minutes later, my phone started vibrating. Wife is calling. Wife is calling. But no one would ever answer again. My body was twisted into a strange posture by the robbers, ribs and knees broken. To ensure no loose ends, the robbers had slashed me over a dozen times. The system couldn't bear it and cover my eyes. Sorry, I arranged it a bit too ruthlessly. I shook my head. It doesn't matter. How else will Elena be tortured by nightmares for the rest of her life? The phone vibrated relentlessly. I watched it quietly, lost in thought. The system said that for my last day in this world, I would exist as a spirit. 2 hours later, Elena followed the phone's location and found my body. The scene before her froze her completely. Elena reached out incredulously, trembling as she checked for my breath. The sensation of nothingness made her shudder violently. She collapsed. The system cursed, "Pest, scumbag. What's the use of acting regretful now? Julian, wake up." Tears gushed from her eyes like a spring. She reached out to cover my bleeding wounds. But there were too many wounds, and the blood had long since run dry. Even though my soul had left the body, looking at the flesh turned inside out by the knife, my heart still throbbed with phantom pain. Elena stumbled toward the car holding my body. "Bring the car over," she roared. The butler, sent by Grandpa to help search, immediately drove the car to Elena's side. But seeing me in her arms, he sucked in a breath of cold air. "How is Julian hurt so badly?" The system and I sat in the back seat, watching Elena floor the gas pedal, running over a dozen red lights. The butler was scared witless, constantly urging her to slow down, to be safe. She shouted him down every time. On our way to the hospital, every specialist from the Cross Private Hospital was summoned. She placed me on the hospital bed, warning everyone with bloodshot eyes, "This is my husband. I don't care what method you use, you must bring him back to life." The team of experts, averaging over 40 years of age, took turns examining my corpse, which had long since lost a heartbeat. Helplessly, they shook their heads and advised Elena solemnly, "Ms. Cross, it's better to find a good mortician and let your husband go with dignity." "What did you say?" The veins on Elena's forehead bulged. She grabbed the expert by the collar tightly. Her bloodthirsty gaze seemed ready to swallow the doctor whole. Countless people came up to stop her, holding her back. Elena screamed and shouted like a madwoman. "You haven't even tried to resuscitate him. What gives you the right to declare his death? If Julian dies, I want all of you buried with him." Pressured by her power, the expert team had to send me into the ICU to perform useless maneuvers. The system covered its ears. "Host, Elena is so unhinged." I was amused by it, but a cry of alarm interrupted us. Grandpa had arrived. His hunched body trembled uncontrollably as he slammed his cane heavily onto the ground. "Julian, how could you let Grandpa bury a white-haired child?" Tears welled up in my eyes. I apologized softly. "I'm sorry, Grandpa. I broke my promise. I can't visit you anymore." The next second, the cane that struck the ground was swung forcefully onto Elena. "It's all your fault." Grandpa pointed a shaking finger at Elena, cursing. "I just found out you've been messing around with that kid from the Reed family lately. Julian was so heartbroken, yet he was covering for you in front of me." He walked tremblingly toward Elena and kicked her hard to the ground. "Are you worthy of Julian? Have you forgotten? He isn't just your husband. He's the savior who saved your life." A few sentences left the 70-year-old man almost breathless. Seeing this, the experts hurriedly began emergency measures on Grandpa. Elena lay prone on the floor, staring blankly at me on the hospital bed, her face covered in tears. "I thought you would never leave me. Julian, I was wrong. I regret it. Please wake up and talk to me, okay?" The silence in the ICU was absolute. You could hear a drop of water fall. The only response was the echo of her own heart-wrenching pain. Elena's perspective. My phone was easily unlocked by Elena. The password was our wedding date. Her hand trembled as she lit up the screen. The first image to appear was the Twitter DM interface. With just one glance, Elena seemed struck by lightning, unable to move, her eyes full of shock. She slowly scrolled the screen. Caleb's provocations and insults toward me over the past few months unfolded before her, word for word. In that instant, Elena's world seemed to collapse completely. She watched as the spoiling and indulgence she had shown Caleb turned into countless venomous vipers, gnawing at her husband. WeChat vibrated. Elena switched to the messaging interface. It was a message from my private doctor. Mr. Vance, why haven't you come for your follow-up recently? She scrolled up. Soon, she saw the diagnosis certificate confirming my severe depression. Clinical guidance opinion. Mood is extremely low, devoid of vitality. Frequent feelings of helplessness and despair. Has thoughts of seeking release/ending life. Significant sleep disorders. Elena looked at the date of the diagnosis. It felt familiar. Suddenly, she remembered. That was the day Caleb joined the Cross Corporation. The doctor asked, "Why do you feel this way?" Julian replied, "My wife's childhood friend came back. She often leaves me for him, fights with me. She wasn't like this before." A few minutes later, Julian replied again, "I think she doesn't love me anymore." Elena slowly closed her eyes. Tears rolled down, soaking her collar. Her mouth opened and closed. The word she was about to say seemed incredibly difficult, bitterness spreading through her mouth. It took a long time before she could speak clearly. Julian, I'm sorry. I do love you. I'm sorry for making you suffer so many grievances." 2 lines of tears spilled from my eyes as well. My soul began to fade. I made eye contact with the system, confirming this was my final moment in this world. Caught off guard, I was surprised to find Elena's gaze meeting mine. Julian, she reached out panic-stricken towards the air, trying to grab me, trying to stop me from leaving. I smiled miserably. "Elena Cross, I leave you no last words. And I do not accept your apology." As my voice fell, amidst Elena's shattered gaze, my spirit completely dissipated. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital bed. The director of the youth home wept with joy. "Julian, you're awake." Without waiting to talk to me, she ran to get the doctor. Only then did I remember. In my original world, I died saving someone. My soul entered the Transmigration Bureau. The director told me that anyone who dies saving others gets a chance at rebirth. As long as I completed the mission carried during the transmigration, I could be reborn in the original world. In the real world, people often call this a medical miracle. My transmigration mission was to reform the toxic female supporting character, Elena Cross. After I recovered and was discharged, I returned to the youth home to continue being the vice director. I was abandoned here at birth, stayed here growing up, and accompanied more children as they grew. At night, after all the kids were asleep, I brewed a pot of tea and had my final chat with the system in the courtyard. "Host, Caleb is dead." Huh? I was a bit surprised. Why? Those robbers already had blood on their hands. This system used a little trick so that when they were caught by Grandfather Cross, they gave up Caleb's name. I gave a thumbs up in admiration. The system felt it wasn't thorough enough. "He died even more miserably than you. You know, Grandfather Cross used to be in the underworld. He loved you so much, so he did it himself." It didn't finish, just made a throat-slitting motion. I could imagine how cruel the old man's methods were. And Elena, after you left, she was beaten half to death by Grandfather Cross too. She gave up on herself, getting dead drunk in front of your grave every day. It won't be long before she dies of alcohol poisoning. I click my tongue in wonder. Pity about the Cross family fortune. No one to inherit it. The system smiled slyly. A stack of bank cards appeared in front of me. After Elena dies, the Cross family assets will be transferred into these cards by the Transmigration Bureau. Host, are you ready to be a super-duper billionaire? In the quiet summer night, my exclamation rang out. Ready and waiting. Story complete.